Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Blaine Stephan from Guardian Heating and Plumbing as he's here to offer some tips and talk about seasonal changes that people might see in their heating and plumbing systems heading into winter. First off, Blaine, thanks so much for being here. But for people like me who haven't the slightest idea on how to prepare their home for winter, do you maybe have some basic starter tips for people on how they can do that?
Yeah, for sure, Tate. So I tried to kind of lay it out in three parts. So I try to set it up. So number one, walk around the outside of your house. First thing you want to do is just look to make sure that all your vents are clear, that there's no fuzz in them, spider webs, and if there is, just brush it off, clean them out. Um, we'll give you a few bonus ones here too, not just HVAC, but also plumbing related. When you're walking around, make sure that you take the hose off of your outside tap. That can be a disaster come spring. What happens is if that hose is still on there, the water stays in there and it doesn't get to drain out and it'll actually freeze and it bursts the line and you will not know until next spring when you're out watering your flowers. And while you're watering your flowers, it's also watering your basement. And you won't know because you're outside and all of a sudden you get your kid come running out screaming, Dad, the basement's flooding. So that's always a disaster, and that happens every year. That's without fail. We will fix that every spring. So don't let it be yours. The other thing too is make sure that it's not leaking. Those taps will start dripping, and you'll end up with the coolest, biggest icicle, and also can cause a lot of damage and a lot of problems. And it's costing you money. It's not cheap to drip water onto the ground. So, and then there's also another pipe that not everybody will have. But if you've got your sump pump and it's got a hose that takes the water away from your house a ways, or some people have it running down their fence to another location, take that off. If that freezes up, your pump will then turn on and it'll pump against ice and you'll burn out that pump. And same thing, come spring, you think your pump's gonna work, and all of a sudden you get the first big flood, little tsunami in Lloydminster, and your basement starts flooding because your sump pump's not working properly. So those are a couple of things for the outside. Second, then I'd want you to walk around the inside of your house. Test all your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. If they're battery powered, make sure that you change them. This would be the perfect time to just get that done. Those are so important. Doesn't matter how new your furnace is, there's always the potential for a failure, and a carbon monoxide detector is going to protect your family in that situation. So make sure to check those batteries and get that done. And then I always tell people, turn up the thermostat before it gets cold outside. Make sure you've got heat coming out of your registers while it's still early in the season. And then use all of your senses. Smell for burning. Look for that excess smoke or maybe dust coming out of the vents, and listen for weird noises. Maybe don't lick anything, but all the other senses, they'll tell you pretty quick what's going on. And last, I want you to walk around your furnace room. Look for dripping pipes. This is just a good time. So many people just forget that they even have a mechanical room. Get down there, walk around and get familiar with it. Know what it's supposed to look like. Look for dripping pipes. Listen for strange noises like before, grinding, squeaking, banging. These are all noises that means there's a problem. It means that there's going to be an issue, and the longer you leave it, the more expensive it's going to be to fix. So just get it dealt with.
And an issue that a lot of people seem to run into comes from a lack of balanced airflow. So that's when upstairs things are fine or maybe even a little bit too warm, but in the basement things are on a completely different level and it's freezing. Do you maybe have any suggestions for how people can avoid that?
Yeah, so you're right. That is a huge complaint that we get called about often. And to be honest, most homes in Lloydminster are heated with forced air with a furnace that moves the air around the house. And it literally can be one of the most challenging systems to balance for comfort. And a lot of it has to do with the way that the system was designed or installed. And I mean, there's ways of doing it that can bring more comfort. But at the end of the day, you're limited by the way it was installed initially. And when you're talking about, basements and upstairs, the issue comes is that we live upstairs. We are up there making heat. That's where the sun is shining in the windows and it heats the upstairs. And you don't want the furnace running when it's warm and when there's heat being given off. And so that's why the basements don't have that. There's not as many people down there. Your kitchen's not down there. You don't have as much sun. And so One way that you can balance things a bit is to run your fan on continuous fan. It's going to take the warm air from upstairs and it's going to move it downstairs, and it's going to help to kind of circulate that around.
And I know that you and the team from Guardian Plumbing have actually come together to create a little bit of a web series where you provide some tutorials and walkthroughs on some basic systems. Could you maybe just tell people a little bit about them?
For sure, yeah, we've had lots of customers that have asked us for tips and tricks in the past, and I mean, we tried to find a way to connect with as many people as possible. So we've created a YouTube channel under Guardian Plumbing and Heating, and we have it's a monthly segment called the Guardian Angle, and I literally just it's all about customers and being able to give you guys tips and tricks to be able to do things on your own. We actually have one on fall maintenance, essential fall maintenance, that's in there, and you can access that and take a look at that. And I walk through and show you where some of these things can happen, and what you can do to repair some of those things. So and yeah, try to make it so that it's all in language that everybody can understand, and you don't have to have a degree in plumbing and heating to be able to fix things. So